You know the old joke, I went to a boxing match and a hockey game broke out. You know that joke, right? Yesterday, Callie, two of our kids and I went to Millennium Park and a church service broke out right in the middle of that downtown park. We shouldn't have been all that surprised. We were at the 34th Annual Gospel Music Festival in Pritzker Pavilion. It was pouring rain yesterday. I don't know if you were aware of this, but it was pouring rain. The only people at that concert were the most die-hard gospel music fans in the city of Chicago and one Lincoln Park family that didn't check the weather before we headed downtown. I have to say that at the beginning, the performances were a bit lackluster. They didn't really overcome the cold and the rain, and at one point, I walked away to get out of the rain to warm up a little bit. When I came back, a singer named Miranda Curtis was on the stage. I'd never heard of her. I looked her up afterwards. She's from Georgia. She's about my age. She is a preacher's kid who obviously paid very close attention when she was growing up. Her voice just took over. I'm surprised they didn't hear it all the way up in Kenosha. Melodies just pouring out of her, wild, strong vocal lines, one after another. You couldn't even feel the rain, or the rain didn't matter anymore. And then, right in the middle of her song, she stopped. And the band stopped. And the background singer stopped, and she said, "Chicago, can we speak the truth? Can we touch the fire? Chicago, can we speak the truth? Can we touch the fire?" And then she spoke one word: Jesus. Well, she didn't really speak it. She sang it in about 3 octaves for about 2 minutes. It was remarkable. And I just felt wide open there at church in the park. Jesus is intense. As Matt just said, he didn't write the letter to the Hebrews, but you can hear him in it, testifying to himself. And he says the most unusual things. He says, "My body is the curtain, the door through which you get to God." My body is the door through which you get to God. I say this every year, but it's a good reminder each year for our confirmands, but also for our adults, especially those of us who are on the church council. Years ago, St. Paul's confirmands had to memorize Martin Luther's small catechism. I bet it would be much easier teaching the class in some ways then. There's the curriculum right there. It's laid out for you. All the students had to memorize it, more than 300 questions. And then before confirmation, they would stand in front of the congregation, and members of the church council would fire questions from it at them. What is the third article of the Apostles' Creed? And what does it mean? Anyone? We stopped doing that. And we didn't stop doing that just because hypocrisy is a great sin and no one should ask a question like that if they don't know the answer. And I don't think any of us know the answer. We didn't stop because memorization at that kind of level is a poor pedagogical tool. We stopped because we realized you don't get to God by memorizing. And no pastor, no church leader guards the threshold of God's sanctuary. Instead, Jesus carries you across that threshold in his arms with his broken body, his resurrected body. That strange claim is just one of the things that makes confirmation very, very different from the succession of hurdles our confirmands are about to clear. From the outside, Sometimes from the inside, because sometimes we forget to take off the outside's lenses. But from the outside, it looks like this. As children become adolescents, they begin to slough off the intensity of their ties to family. This is painful, but it's necessary for them to become free, autonomous, independent, individual, adult men and women. Because we're made to be free. We're made to be unencumbered by others, defined by our own choices. And so we start training our young ones for this. It goes like this. First you get your own phone. Then you graduate from 8th grade. Confirmation, driver's license, high school graduation, and you're done. With each passing year, your autonomy increases until at the end you're an adult. Congratulations, a sad, lonely, isolated adult. So glad you laughed. You laugh because you already know the truth. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. And confirmation exposes the lie. God doesn't make self-sufficient creatures. She makes us for our community. She makes us for each other. Christ doesn't carry you into an empty room. He brings you into church. Sam, he brings you into church. Jonah, he brings you into church. He brings you into church. He brings you into community. If you listen to the question and answers between our students and the three of us pastors in a few minutes, you're going to see the upside-down logic of Jesus at work. We ask this question, Sarah, Jeff, and I. We ask this to the confirmands. Do you believe in God? And our 5 confirmands will respond, we believe in God. There's the hint of a rebuke in that grammatical hiccup. But the questions continue. Do you believe in Jesus Christ? That's a normal question, right? Do you believe in Jesus Christ? Do you really believe in Jesus Christ? Well, yes, I do. He had a rare God consciousness and was an unusually spiritual person. That's a good way to sidestep something. Well, what about his resurrection? Do you believe in that? That isn't a normal question. That's a rude question, right? But somebody's going to ask it, and we have to think of an answer. You think you have to answer that question as a free, independent individual. I think I have to answer because I am an adult man, able to make up my own mind. You believe or you don't. You have 2 options, and the options only seem like opposites. Because either way, you're the boss. You're in charge. I believe. I don't believe. We take the mystery of God and we treat it with the dignity of a French fry order. Do you want it or don't you? It's up to you. You're a free individual. Meanwhile, the church insists on something quite different. We ask, do you believe in Jesus Christ? And our wise beyond their years young people respond with the answer St. Paul's has taught them every Sunday that they have ever come to church. We believe in Jesus Christ. We do, all of us together. The Jewish scholar Aviva Zornberg uses an incredible phrase when she writes about faith. She says that when it comes to God, individual women and men are always tempted to commit the obscenity of understanding. The obscenity of understanding. In the Hebrew Bible, the Jewish people didn't even speak God's name because to speak God's name was to commit an act that was too much for us, too much for them, too grand, too much claim on the divine. I am who I am. I will be who I will be, says God. And when we think that we can say, I believe, I know, I'm in charge, yes, I'll take the French fries, we commit the obscenity of understanding, as if our limited, blinkered thinking could ever hold or grasp the wonder of God's love. We believe in that sentence, in that answer. There lies the humility of considering that God's boundless work defies the boundaries of my individual mind, of your individual mind. Because the truth is, I don't know much. And what I do know isn't very important. And you don't know a whole lot either. Do you believe in Jesus Christ? Who cares? What a boring question. Do you believe in Jesus Christ? What a boring question. But here's something thrilling. We believe in Jesus Christ. We believe in Jesus Christ. Hannah and Emily and Olivia, Sam and Jonah. Today you step into the upside down kingdom of Christ's church as adults. And when you cross that threshold into freedom, when he carries you across it, you don't land standing up on your own 2 feet as strong as you will ever be. You enter on your knees. You enter saying, we believe. The very first time Jesus preached a sermon, he spoke from a text in the book of Isaiah. And in that text, the prophet promised, someday, one day, you will be, he says to the congregation, he says to Israel, you will be oaks of righteousness. And Jesus read those words, and then he said, today this has come true in your own hearing. Today you are oaks of righteousness. And that was true in the first century in Nazareth when he preached that sermon in his hometown synagogue. And it was true because he was there, and it is true today, just as true and just as electric, because he is here at this table with us. And today you become oaks of righteousness. God didn't create a single oak tree, and God did not make you to be a single oak tree. God makes a forest of oak trees whose roots touch each other's roots, who drink from the same rainfall and are fed by the same sun, whose shade helps each other's growth. God makes us into a mighty forest, oaks of righteousness. We are not a mighty fortress. That's God's job. Inside that mighty fortress, we are a mighty forest, displaying God's glory. And today that forest becomes much more beautiful, much more wondrous for the 5 oaks of righteousness that stand after kneeling and are planted today. Hallelujah. Amen.